I called this episode the name game with Phil Leftwich, even though we only talked about maybe 3 or 4 names and we talked about all the cities that he had played in. So if you want to know what Phil Leftwich thinks of Midland, Texas, here you go. If you want to know what Phil Leftwich thinks of Lake Elsinore, California, here you go. If you want to hear about Phil Leftwich's impressions of Burt Blyleven, here you go. If you want to hear about the first hitter that Phil Leftwich ever struck out, we'll touch on Ricky Henderson, but I've been promised we'll talk about him more in a later podcast. If you want to hear Phil Leftwich, this is the place on the Sports Buffet podcast. Talking to my best baseball buddy, Phil Leftwich. Do you mind being called best baseball buddy? Do you have one of those?
Oh, bring it on. I need more of those.
I'm going to do a little bit of a name game with you. I'm going to name a name, and I want you to tell me a story or whatever you thought or whatever. First batter you ever faced in the big leagues. Do you know who it was? Regular season?
I do. Ricky Henderson. He was a good one. And so the story with that one is I making my debut. I'm looking over in the as I take the mound, I'm looking over there and I see Ricky. And my biggest worry or my thought was just throw the first pitch anywhere near the plate. Like I was just so terrified that my body would forget what it was supposed to do. I just wanted to get the first pitch somewhere near or just be catchable.
How nervous were you before your first major league game? Let me interrupt with that question.
Um, I don't know, terrified. I tell people, and I'm not exaggerating. I peed a little. I peed a little from the bullpen to the dugout.
Well, you played
So
professional baseball before, so
yeah,
that's my point. You're not just going from like Radford to here's the mound at the Big A at Anaheim.
it was a completely different stage.
Mm-hmm.
It's like being at a high school play, and then all of a sudden you go to Madison Square Garden. Like the stadium was so big and the lights were so bright. Even though I'd done this my whole life, and in theory, I should have just been kind of autopilot. It's just different. There's no way to describe it other than it's just different. And it took that first pitch, and luckily, I threw a pitch right down the middle. It just went literally right down the middle. And as soon as that happened, and the umpire's hand went up for a strike, that realization that I've done this my whole life kind of clicked in, and then I could breathe a little.
Did you talk to people on other teams, big league teams?
Pitchers.
Okay.
I didn't mess with. I kind of left hitters alone because the last thing I wanted was to look in the box and have a guy that I was a little bit, uneasy about pitching inside because we had just had a beer the night before, or
Right.
you know. So I kind of stayed away from the other hitters.
I didn't know if Ricky did third person or not. I
Oh,
feel sure he
oh,
probably did.
he 100% did. I've got a story about that that's way too long for this segment, but one of these days I'll share that third person Ricky story with you.
If you will come back, I've already got the Ricky Henderson story and the Boston Red Sox scouting combine story for next time.
Okay. Oh, you got it. You got it.
Julio Franco.
First home run.
I know.
Yeah, my first home run, grand slam, Julio.
Oh, wow. How'd that feel?
And played against him for a long time when I played in Japan, and owned him in Japan.
Didn't talk to him, though, because he's a hitter.
We actually talked a little in Japan because the Americans tried to talk to each other. Like it was a little bit of a bond once you're over there. And by that time, I was at the end of my career, and I wasn't too worried about things anymore. So good guy, really good guy, really fun guy.
Did people know who you were because you were Phil Leftwich, or did people know who you were because you were an American in Japan?
I think a little bit of both.
Okay.
They love baseball. The people over there, I mean, they are so passionate about it, and because we stand out, you can't hide over there. I'm a foot taller than anybody else, and uh, riding on the train, I could kind of look out the front of the train over everybody's head, and so it's hard to hide over there. But the fans were super respectful, and I would have stayed over there and played forever if I hadn't have kind of gotten hurt and just sort of finished my career over there. But I'd have stayed over there forever.
Tuffy Rhodes.
Tuffy. I doubt your listeners are. There's not going to be many that know who Tuffy is, but Tuffy was the debuted in the big leagues, hit 3 home runs on his debut against Doc Gooden in his prime, and
Not Gooden's
I don't
prime,
want
not
to.
Tuffy's.
Yeah, correct. Tuffy's prime over here was kind of short lived. Um, and then he made a man, did he make a career in Japan? I think he probably ended up playing at least 10, maybe, God, maybe 12, 10 or 12 years over there. And um, he's got to be the all time foreign home run hitter. I'd have to go back and look, but I bet he's the all time foreign home run hitter.
Did people get paid? Did major leaguers get paid well to play overseas?
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, it was more, it's a little bit different now, but
Right.
um, I went over there at the end of my career, which is kind of what you did. And so yes, it was a little bit about the money for me, but I had a chance when I signed, when I took that job, I actually had been invited to go to the Diamondbacks inaugural spring training, their first year of their big league team. And I had to make that decision. Okay, go try to make the Diamondbacks roster or go to Japan. And I chose Japan, which I don't know that a lot of people would have made that decision, but it was just such a life experience. So I was going to take my wife and kids to Japan, and
Were you living in Arizona at the time?
I was.
So no, I
I've
didn't
been,
mean to
I,
interrupt. Me, it makes it even
no,
harder because you're leaving, essentially your home state.
for us, it was the decision. Okay, how do we do this with four little kids?
Right.
Um, and so I would go for a month or two early, and then I would send them home a month or two before the season ended. So I tried to shorten it a little bit because life was hard on them. I mean, it was hard with four little kids, and you walk to the train station, you walk to the grocery store, and so my wife was a champ. She did all that, and I'm obviously still playing and traveling over there, and but we wouldn't trade that. She probably doesn't speak as glowingly of it as I do, but it was a life experience that I wouldn't trade for anything. I have no regrets for making that decision.
Does the Japanese baseball schedule mirror the American baseball schedule?
It does.
Okay.
It's
April to
they give
October,
you
essentially.
Yes, they
Okay.
give you a couple more days off a month. It's like the season is about the same length, but because there's fewer teams, they kind of add a couple more days off. Their All-Star break's a little longer, but it absolutely is parallel in a lot of ways. Like they had a non-DH league and a DH league, and the season is the same, and so it definitely mirrored what we do here.
How many interviews have you done where you've been asked about Marcus Lawton?
Marcus Lawton, none, absolutely none.
I try to
Um,
stand out for certain
you
reasons, I guess.
you just play with, so in a given season over here in the States, like you break camp, and let's say I'm in double or triple A. You break camp and there's 30 probably 30 guys. We don't have the same roster limits in the
Mhm.
minors as you do in the big leagues. And say you break camp with 30 guys, and if I stayed in double or triple A all year, there might be another 30 guys that come through that town. um, Guys move up, guys get hurt, guys get traded, guys get released. And so if you brought up some names like Marcus Lawton, I would have to really kind of think about, okay, did I play with him in double A or triple A, or
And
where
he
was
had a son
I?
that
And
played in the
so
big leagues too, Matt Lawton, by the way, just in case.
I don't, I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
did not know that.
that's what Baseball
No,
Reference told me.
Marcus was a really good guy. I played with him in AAA in Vancouver. I do. He's one of the guys that I remember where I was. So,
Talk to me about Vancouver real quick too, just the city as a whole and everything.
loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. It's funny. I was just in Vancouver for work a few weeks ago, which I don't get to very often. So it was a beautiful place. Very it's kind of like Portland, Seattle. It's very outdoorsy.
Yep.
People there are really laid back, and it was a really good pitcher's park. I remember people telling me before I got there, like, man, this park, the ball just goes nowhere. And man, they were not lying. I don't know what it is about the air there, but the ERAs in Vancouver versus when we go south in AAA and play in like Vegas or Phoenix or Albuquerque, where it's like playing on the moon. So no, it was a good place to pitch.
And I have actually been to Vancouver as well, not for baseball, but that's where we were sailing out of when we went on a cruise. ports would be out of Vancouver.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big, British Columbia in general it's a beautiful place.
Do you have any passport issues, or did people take care of that for you at that level?
That is a good question. I don't remember back in the day. It used to be much easier to get across. I just did it, and I just had to re-up my passport. I didn't realize that it was expired. I should have known that. But yeah, getting traveling anywhere these days is a lot tougher than it used to be.
Well, and I wasn't trying to make it out to be like that, and I wasn't trying to make it out to be like your passport expired, but like, it seems like a lot of times minor league or big league baseball players have those things done for them to where you don't think about like booking a plane ticket because somebody's going to take care of that, or a bus ticket or
Well,
whatever.
in the big leagues, you have a traveling secretary
Right.
that does handle all that stuff. In the minor leagues, yeah, it's on you. I don't think that part has changed much anymore, or has not changed much over the years. But I do remember that was one of the biggest adjustments. Was like, what do you mean I don't have to carry my bags, or what do you mean I don't have to fill this out, or you'll handle that? Because I was used to doing everything on my own. So
Lake Elsinore, you made one rehab start. Was the park kind of like a little Camden Yards at that point, or was it a minor league baseball park back then?
it was a minor. It was definitely a minor league baseball park. I love what they've done with the minor league stadiums now. Um, they are they're not, the stories probably aren't as good. Like if I talk to all my guys that I played with, half of our stories are funny because we played, we had to deal with a locker room that was about the size of your closet at home, um, or the food that was so bad, or um, the lights were so terrible that you couldn't see a fly ball. And the kids today don't know how good they have it. Like the organizations have done a really good job putting nutrition parameters in place, and the stadiums have all been. I mean, they're like small big league stadiums.
Did you ever eat really well for a post game spread because a big leaguer was in town, or is that a myth?
Every time a big leaguer was in town, I'll, I'll, I'll tell you, I ran into, or I had a conversation not too awful long ago. The best guy that ever did that was Bert Blyleven, and I was a Pittsburgh fan growing up, and Bert was playing for Pittsburgh in the heyday.
Right.
I mean, his big years were with the Twins, but he pitched for the Pirates when I was falling in love with the Pirates, and so I had a chance to play with him a little bit at the end, and he was the classiest guy, and not just ordered a spread for the rehab guys in our lowest minor league level. Um, he actually kind of sat and hung out and talked to people, and was just genuinely happy to be there. And so really taught me a lot. And so anytime I went anywhere on a rehab assignment, I made sure I did my best Burt Blyleven imitation. So
Can you tell me anything about the Quad Cities
um
minor league stuff?
yeah, the riverboat casinos. That's what I did after every game. My wife would probably tell you we'd have a whole lot more money if I'd have stayed off the riverboat casinos. But it was a good minor league town. It was a things, when you talk about a minor league town, you want to find good restaurants or the right gym that you can go to, and the things that make your day-to-day life and your path to the next level good. And so Quad Cities right there on the river, beautiful, like I'd run. So every day, instead of running the outfield to work out, we'd run the bridge that went across the river, and back. And so, yeah, really, really good memories of Davenport, Iowa.
I'm going to assume it's Texas, but Midland?
Ooh, Midland. That was I don't want to talk bad about Midland, Texas, but that was not the best place to pitch. Remember all those nice things I said about Vancouver and the ball not carrying anywhere?
Yeah.
Midland was the complete opposite. It was the worst park to pitch in probably on earth. The ball carried. It was always windy, blowing out, and the ground was like concrete. And so any ball that was hit on the ground, it was either hit and was so fast that it would scoot through, or it was those one hoppers that would just bounce over the infield. So had a good time there, but it was a terrible place to pitch.
How much was there to do in Midland? How big is it compared to Lynchburg, where you came from, I guess?
Well, I mean, Midland is an oil town, so
Okay.
if you go through there now, which I pass through there once in a while, you see oil derricks everywhere, and so it's a very blue collar. Um, it's a good hard working town. I remember there being a good golf course we took advantage of, and the rest of the time it's kind of hot in Midland, Texas in the summer. So most of the time it's probably just resting, trying to survive to get through the night and try to get to the next level. Try to get to Vancouver. That's what it was. Trying to get to Vancouver.
I've often heard if people want to make some of themselves, go to Boise. Tell me about Boise.
Well, see, now Boise was another one that when coming from Lynchburg, Virginia, all those towns I'd never, most of those towns I'd never even heard of before I got on the road. And so that was my very first stop. And it was a new franchise there. They built a new stadium, and man, did those people love us. Um, that was a really fun place to play. They took good care of us, and that might have been the best minor league team I ever played on. We had set up, I don't know if I doubt it still stands, but at the time we had set a short season record for wins there. We didn't lose much that year.
Few more quick questions. Name association, Scott Cooper. Do you know what Scott
Um,
Cooper holds to you?
I so I watched him play. I watched Scott play there in Lynchburg,
Right.
and I know he hit. It's moments for me. So like, as I played the history in my mind, he hit two doubles off me on a 4th of July game against Roger Clemens. But both of them off the monster. And so, my memories of Scott are not pleasant. So thanks for bringing up, thanks for
You're welcome.
digging that up.
Guess I did that at the end too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Scott Cooper is the only person, according to Baseball Reference, that has multiple home runs off of you. Everybody else only one.
Man, I did not know that. That is a really good one. So it must have been, so what you're saying is I never got him out. So
I didn't say
he
that.
took,
I didn't say that. I just said he has
man,
2 home runs.
okay. Yeah, he must have got me solo or one other times, but I do remember that. I remember that 4th of July game, hit two ground rule doubles.
Do
Not
you
two ground rule doubles, two doubles off the wall.
do you remember pitch sequences and stuff a lot? Like, I mean, I bring up a name like
Yeah.
Scott Cooper, and you can just call out 2 doubles just like that.
I don't do that with everybody, but there's certain hitters or certain games or certain moments that I can. Now I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but
Right.
there's definitely some things that I do remember pretty clearly.
And he and Marcus Lawton have one thing in common. They both played in Lynchburg. So I figured that could at least be a bump
Oh,
with you
there
and
you go.
Marcus.
There you go.
So,
Um,
2 final questions. A, have you ever been interviewed by a person that has so much nerdy knowledge of Scott Cooper and Marcus Lawton type of thing?
no, that is you're in a league by yourself.
Do you like
So,
that fact that you can go back with that? Because I've got to imagine your friends don't say, "Hey, tell me about Marcus Lawton." I mean, they're just there to hang out with Phil.
oh no, I tell you what, man, I have a lot of respect for people that have the kind of brain you have. Like I've had a couple of people in my life that were their ability to recall people and stats and data is otherworldly to me. And I kind of feel like you might be one of those guys.
Thank you,
And
Brain Man.
so that is Rain Man, I don't want to sound that as negative because there's a skill in that, but the skill is being able to then talk well about it and to be on air and do those things and still be that guy that can do that. That is a man, that's rare air.
But do
So
you like the fact that you can go back, or would you rather just sit at the bar and watch the basketball game with a bunch of buddies?
well, I will watch any game that's on TV. I watched soccer. I watched the World Cup game
Right.
this afternoon. I snuck out of my office and went down and watched the World Cup game with my wife. And so, if people are competing, I will watch it. Now, I have a hierarchy. Like, if you had to pin me down, I would probably watch a college basketball game first, and then probably football and baseball would be kind of second. All the other sports kind of fall behind that, but man, I'm a sports guy. Just born with a ball, and um, kind of had the right, grew up around the right people and had the right coaches and pointed me in the right direction and and maybe more than that, just got out of my way and let me kind of do my own thing and learn on my own. And so,
So
No, life just sort of worked.
you like the balance of hanging out with those guys and being able to go back, or this has been painful of the going back?
Oh no, no, no. This is great. This is great. I love reminiscing. As I have to talk about work all day, you're catching me at the end of my work day. Um, I'd talk about this for hours and hours and hours rather than talk about anything else. So man, you can call me. We'll do this anytime.
Well, good. I'll hold you to that. But here's my final question for now. When you are playing baseball, and we'll say minor leagues and professional baseball, major leagues, did you get starstruck a lot?
There were a couple people. I have the regrets I have are not being how do I say this? I didn't want to give those guys too much credit. So if I went over and asked for George Brett's autograph and fanboyed him, I was losing my edge to pitch against him. And so there are so many players that I wish I could go back and go walk over to the locker room and say, "Hey man, can I grab can I get a signature? Can I get a jersey, a hat?" Um, but I didn't do it because I didn't want to give those guys too much credit.
Did you get
And so
starstruck by Burt Blyleven, though?
Bert, well, we were kind of teammates
Right.
then, and it was, that was a little different. But like for me, the ones that were really kind of those guys were Nolan Ryan,
Okay.
um, Brett. It was, King Griffey Jr. Trying to think, so Frank Thomas. The guys that were the dudes of that generation, and
So I'm
so
going to get starstruck by the opposing team, but my teammates are my teammates. I'm not going to get starstruck if I'm playing with a future Hall of Famer or somebody I think that's going to be really, really good.
well, especially not after you've been in spring training with them and
Right. Okay.
and gone to war with them a little bit. It takes on a little different personality. The one that was probably a little bit that I'm still a little starstruck by was Bo Jackson came over and played with us right at the end of his career. I don't know if this is his very last year or last year and a half, but so I got to spend a good amount of time with Bo because he um, DH who's he was on the bench instead of being out in the outfield and then obviously we travel together and spend a lot of time together, and so that is the one guy that I played with that there's no way you can't be starstruck by that guy.
This podcast was truly one of those where I could nerd out baseball wise. I probably had just as close a relationship with my father growing up that a lot of boys I know did in terms of they bonded over baseball. Baseball card collections were a big thing back in the day. For me, that and Major League Baseball home video. So while my dad knows the 60s maybe like the back of his hand, or did know the 60s like the back of his hand, I grew up knowing the 80s and 90s. And for me to spit out a name like Julio Franco, no problem. For me to spit out a name like Scott Cooper, who played in Lynchburg, no problem. For people to spit out the sports buffet with Bob Alvis, not really a problem, but maybe not the first thing they spit out. No spitting allowed on the sports buffet. I'm Bob Alvis.